Hey, happy Wednesday to you, everybody. Welcome to a midweek episode of 5 Minutes with Phil. Thank you again for joining me here today. I'm really glad that you're here. And let's get started. Let's unpack the Lord's Word for you today. We are in the book of Luke. Luke chapter 16. And Jesus is giving some more great teaching like he does. And very interesting statement that he makes here in three verses 10, 11, and 12. And I think it's a great challenge to all of us as followers of his. It's also, I think, good advice to those who may be watching that are in some kind of leadership today. Let me show you what I mean. Check this out. We're in Luke chapter 16, again, starting in verse 10. Here's what it says. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much, and whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. So if you've not been trustworthy in handling worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches? And if you've not been trustworthy with someone else's property, who will give you property of your own? So Jesus is really giving some very practical advice here, and I think a real big challenge to all of us. Working in ministry for over 3 decades now, I have been in situations, and I've seen situations where you are in a place to, for example, do ministry, and it's not the it's not the arena size crowd that you're ministering to. It's actually maybe a small handful of people, and I think that those are times where you're really tested as to how faithful you will be with the situations that God gives you. For example, if I personally, I've spoken in different retreat settings, for example, and I've had groups of over 100 there at this getaway retreat, and then I've spoken to groups of 6, and you know what, I think those are moments that God says, you know what, if you're not going to be faithful to that group of 6, then I can't trust you with 600. I can't trust you with 6,000. And some of you that are watching here today, you might find yourself doing good things, but for a handful of people, maybe one person, and maybe your class is not as large as you'd like it, maybe your church is not as large as you'd like it, maybe your ministry isn't as large as you'd like it, maybe your influence is not as large as you would like it, and those can be really challenging times for us. And the temptation, I think, is to kind of check out and say, well, it's not worth it. It's not worth my time. If I'm not going to have more than X amount of people, then why should I even bother? And I think those are moments that God says, I'll tell you why you should bother, because there's somebody that needs to hear what you have to say. There's somebody that still needs your effort. There's still somebody in that small handful of people that needs you to be at your best. And if you're not going to be at your best for a small amount of people, then I cannot trust you with a large amount. If you cannot be faithful with a small, humble setting in ministry, then I cannot trust you with a large one, however God defines that. And so many people, especially ministry, they think that when they start out, they should have thousands of people listen to what they have to say. And then reality hits that it's exponentially smaller than what that is. And they wonder, wow, what did I do wrong? You've done nothing wrong. Just be faithful. Be faithful. If you want to be used up by God, then you got to be faithful when there's just a handful of folks there. And you got to be faithful when there's a large amount of people. They all deserve our best. And so if you want to have an influence of much and an impact on many, then you've got to be faithful with a few. And I hope that challenges you today. All right, got to let you go. Thanks for joining me, and I pray you have a wonderful day. We love you. We care about you. And Lord willing, we'll see you again next time, okay? Take care. Bye-bye.